Have you ever stopped to wonder why your smartphone is designed in California, assembled in China, and contains minerals from the Congo? Or why a barista in London makes a different wage than a farmer in Peru? The answers aren't just about money, they are about place. Welcome to our deep dive into economic geography. Over the next 50 minutes, we are going to deconstruct the invisible engine that powers our planet. We'll look at how nations grow, why factories are built where they are, and what the future of work looks like for you. Grab a notebook. Class is in session. It looks like a tangle of wires, doesn't it? But these lines represent the lifeblood of our civilization, trade routes. Economic geography is the study of how people earn a living, how goods travel, and how economic activities are distributed across the earth. It's not just about memorizing capitals, it's about understanding the why. Why is finance centered in New York and London? Why is manufacturing clustered in Southeast Asia? This map isn't static, it's a living, breathing organism of human interaction. Before we can trade, we need a system. Page 2 breaks down the operating systems that countries run on. First, we have traditional and command systems. Think of a traditional system as old school, barter-based, subsistence farming. You eat what you grow. Then you have the command system, like North Korea. Here, the government is the boss of everything. They decide what gets made and who gets it. On the flip side, we have market and mixed economies. A pure market economy is wild capitalism. Supply and demand rule all. But most of us live in a mixed economy, like the USA. It's a blend. We have the freedom of capitalism, but the government steps in with regulations to keep things fair. It's a balancing act between freedom and safety. Now, let's look at the jobs themselves. The foundation of everything is the primary sector. As you can see on page 3, this is all about raw material extraction, getting your hands dirty. We are talking agriculture, mining, fishing, and forestry. If you trace history back, everyone used to work in this sector. But look at the data now. We are seeing a massive declining workforce here. Why? One word: machines. Mechanization has changed the game. One person with a massive tractor can do the work of 100 men with hoes. So, while this sector employs fewer people in developed nations, it is more efficient than ever. Once we pull resources from the earth, we have to do something with them. Welcome to the secondary sector. This is the world of manufacturing and processing. The key concept on page 4 is adding value. Think about it. A pile of steel sheets isn't worth much to you. But if a factory folds, welds, and paints that steel into a car, that's valuable. Whether it's textile factories making your clothes or steel mills forging beams for skyscrapers, this sector transforms raw inputs into the finished goods that fill our homes. As countries get richer, they shift gears. They move into the tertiary sector. If you live in the US, UK, or any developed nation, this is statistically where you probably work. This is the service-based economy. We aren't making things. We are doing things for people. It is incredibly diverse. It includes the retail clerk selling you jeans, the banker managing your loan, the plumber fixing your sink, and the Uber driver getting you home. When an economy matures, it stops just building stuff and starts serving people. But wait, the rabbit hole goes deeper. In the 21st century, the service sector got so big we had to split it up. Page 6 introduces the Quaternary and Quinary sectors. The Quaternary sector is the knowledge economy. This is IT, research, consultancy, and big data. These are people paid to think and innovate. Then at the very top of the pyramid is the Quinary sector. These are the decision makers. We are talking about CEOs, top government officials, and the executives who shape the destiny of nations. Their numbers are small, but their power is immense. We know who does the work, but how do we measure the score? Page 7 highlights the big two metrics, GDP and GNP. GDP, gross domestic product, is about location. It measures everything produced within a country's borders. If a Japanese car company builds a factory in Ohio, that production counts toward America's GDP. GNP, gross national product, is about citizenship. It counts the value produced by a nation's people, even if they are working abroad. It's a subtle difference, but it tells us if a country is getting rich from its land or its people. But is money everything? If a country is rich but its people are uneducated or sick, is it truly developed? Page 8 introduces the Human Development Index, HDI. The United Nations created this to get a better picture of quality of life. It's a composite index. It combines three things: life expectancy, education, literacy and years of schooling, and income. This metric reminds us that the ultimate goal of an economy should be human well-being, not just a high bank balance. Let's look at the global map again. Historically, geographers noticed a stark line. Page 9 calls this the Brant Line, or the North-South Divide. Draw a line across the globe. Generally, the countries north of the line were the wealthy, industrialized powers. The countries to the south were developing nations. Now, there are exceptions. Australia and New Zealand are way down south, but are very wealthy. While this map is considered a bit outdated today because economies are changing so fast, it's crucial for understanding the history of how wealth was concentrated for centuries. A more modern way to look at inequality is Wallerstein's world systems theory on page 10. Imagine the world as a single complex machine. At the center, you have the core nations like the USA and Japan. They define the game. They have the tech and the money. At the bottom, you have the periphery, like Chad or Afghanistan. They mostly supply cheap labor and raw resources to the rich countries. In the middle, you have the semi-periphery, places like China, Brazil, and India. They are the manufacturing hubs, trying to climb their way into the core. It's a system of dependency. So how does a country stop being periphery and become core? W. Rostow gave us a roadmap, which you can see on page 11. Rostow's stages of economic growth. He believed every country climbs a ladder. Traditional society, subsistence farming. Preconditions, you start building roads and dams. Takeoff, this is the big industrial boom, factories everywhere. Maturity, technology spreads to all parts of society. Mass consumption, the finish line. A service economy where people buy what they want, not just what they need. Now, let's put on our CEO hats. You want to build a factory. Where do you put it? Page 12 introduces Weber's least cost theory. The goal is simple: minimize transportation costs. Here is the rule. If your raw materials are heavy, but the product is light, like copper, you build near the mine. That's bulk reducing. You don't want to pay to ship waste dirt. But if your product gets heavier, like soft drinks where you add water, you build near the city. That's bulk gaining. It's all about saving cash on shipping. Sometimes it pays to have neighbors. Page 13 describes agglomeration economies. This is the benefit of clustering. Why would tech companies all crowd into Silicon Valley? Or movie studios into Hollywood? Because they can share a talent pool. If you need a coder, they are all in San Francisco. They also share infrastructure and specialized services. By bunching up, they actually help each other grow. It's the power of proximity. Why doesn't every country just make everything themselves? Because of comparative advantage. This is the economic law on page 14 that says you should do what you are best at. Look at the example. Florida is great at growing oranges. Iowa is great at growing corn. Could Iowa grow oranges? Maybe, in a greenhouse, but it would be super expensive. It makes more sense for Florida to specialize in oranges, Iowa to specialize in corn, and then trade. Trade creates value because everyone is working at maximum efficiency. That drive for efficiency leads us to outsourcing and offshoring on page 15. Outsourcing is when a company hires an outside firm to handle a specific job, like a call center in India handling customer service for a US bank. Offshoring is when the factory itself moves. Think of the maquiladoras in Mexico, factories that moved south of the border to take advantage of cheaper labor costs. It lowers prices for consumers, but it changes the job market back home drastically. Economic geography isn't just about factories, it's about people. Page 16 highlights the Gender Inequality Index, GII. This measures reproductive health, empowerment, and labor market participation. Here is the fascinating economic truth. There is a massive correlation between treating women well and being a rich country. Lower gender inequality correlates with higher GDP. When you lock half your population out of the workforce, your economy suffers. Empowering women isn't just the right thing to do. It's the smart economic move. The way we work is changing fast. Page 17 introduces the gig economy. Gone are the days of the job for life with a gold watch at retirement. We are moving towards short-term contracts and freelance work. Think Uber, DoorDash, and Upwork. There is a trade-off here. Flexibility versus security. You get to be your own boss and set your own hours, but you sacrifice the stability, health insurance, and benefits of a traditional job. This is the new reality for millions of workers. We live in a hyper-connected world. Page 18 discusses global interdependence. Our economies are integrated through complex supply chains. Look at your phone. A single iPhone contains parts from over 30 different countries. The screen is from Korea, the processor from Taiwan, the assembly in China, the design in the US. This is efficient, but risky. If there's a disruption in just one country, a natural disaster or a war, the whole system can grind to a halt. We are all in the same boat. All this growth comes at a cost. Page 19 asks the hard question, what about sustainable development? We have to balance meeting today's needs without ruining the planet for the future. We are seeing new models emerge. Look at ecotourism in Costa Rica, which turns nature conservation into profit. Or look at the Grameen Bank, which gives microloans to the poor to start businesses. These are proofs that we can grow the economy without destroying the earth. Finally, let's look to the horizon. Page 20 covers the future of work, automation and AI. Robots and algorithms are increasingly taking over routine tasks, both manual labor and cognitive work. So, where does that leave us humans? It leads to a human skills revolution. The jobs of the future will rely on the things robots can't do: creativity, empathy, and critical thinking. The fourth industrial revolution is here. The question is, are you ready to adapt? Thanks for watching this deep dive into economic geography. If you found this valuable, hit that like button and subscribe for more educational deep dives.